It's always an honor to host you every Wednesday of the month right here at Digital Earth Africa. Greetings, leaders from the African continent and across the world. Welcome to today's live session. My name is Maud Nale. I am the communications lead at Digital Earth Africa, and today we have a very, very special live session. Every year on the 8th of March, International Women's Day is celebrated as a day to appreciate women from across the globe and appreciate them, also acknowledge their successes, contributions, and achievements. International Women's Day is a day of hope and reflection, a celebration of gender parity in all walks of life. The overarching theme for this year's International Women's Day is all about investing in women and accelerating progress. And it's a call upon you and I to create an inclusive society and invest in women empowerment. I'm so excited about today's live session. We're going to be profiling just a small group of women on our continent who are doing great things as we lead up and celebrate International Women's Day right here in Digital Earth Africa. But before we get to introduce them, I want to let you know that the empowerment and the advancement and the inclusion of women is very important to us as Digital Earth Africa. And so I'm going to call upon my colleague, Joseph Tishumiri. He is the user engagement here at Digital Earth Africa to tell us a little bit more about our strategy in diversity and inclusion as it relates to women. Joseph, if you could turn on your video and unmute yourself, the virtual stage is yours. Over to you.
Thank you, Maud, and the whole team, and happy Women's Day or week to everyone. So as far as this South Africa is concerned, diversity and inclusion, especially focusing on the gender aspect, is very key. For example, we try to cover all corners of the continent, to no one behind, but also focusing mostly on empowering women. For example, among our staff, I was reading that the majority is women, including our science lead, the communication lead, present here, Modernary, and they're doing the great job to advance South Africa, and this is a good example of inclusivity. And also, we try to communicate with the women, with an example of mentorship program for women in GIS, where ladies showed a huge capacity in geospatial technologies on the continent. And not only this, we try to support several use cases initiated by women. If I give some few examples, like Khadija Musu for the University of Zanzibar, they already had initiated the project of restoration of mangrove, and now have a joint mentorship program to empower not only women, but also the youth at the university. And we can also see Professor Kirobogire from Botswana, who has paired the use of the Africa platforms and geospatial technologies in general to inform water resources management in the southern part of Africa, especially Botswana, Okavango Delta. Stella Mutai in Kenya, trying to understand the trend of coffee productivity in the market in Kenya, and many more others. The strategy is to attract more women, because you know that you are able, and you have proved that, especially through the Africa programs and over the world, and also to co-develop some use cases, and also to put more mentorship programs, and sometimes some challenges as the one for African women in GIS. So this is mostly the key point. And once again, the Africa is here to support every woman on the continent, and also you are welcome to keep collaborating whenever needed. Thank you, Maud, and back to you.
Thank you so much to you, Joseph. You put it so aptly. We're all about the advancement and the inclusion and empowerment of women right here at Digital Earth Africa. And so if you're a woman, especially in the STEM industry, you're doing amazing things. We always want to hear from you. So please do reach out to us. At the end, I'll show all the ways that you can contact us. We'd certainly love to hear from you. And more so, if you're using the Digital Earth Africa platform, what difference is it making in your work, in your research? We certainly want to hear from you. Because as we say here at Digital Earth Africa, we do not want to leave anyone behind, and especially not our ladies. Thank you so much to you, Joseph. Now we're going to meet a few of the ladies who are doing great things here across the continent. I'm going to be introducing them one at a time, and I'm going to start with Dr. Dedei Tagoe, and I hope I said your name correctly, Doctor. She is a geospatial data professional. She's also a senior lecturer at the University of Mines and Technology in Ghana. She has such an amazing CV. I'm not going to be able to mention everything, but what was quite noticeable for me is that she's a Mandela Washington Fellow. She's also a Youth Mappers mentor. We've had the Youth Mappers quite a lot here on the live sessions, and this was quite important and struck me the most. She is deeply passionate about empowering women to excel in our gendered society and utilizing GIS and remote sensing to address environmental challenges. Doc, it's such an honor to have you with us. Welcome to Digital Earth Africa live sessions. You've got such an illustrious CV, but I'm sure viewers are wanting to know, where did it all start for you? Care to share a little bit more about your journey getting to this point?
Thank you, Maud, for the introduction, and good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to our listeners across the globe. Growing up, I've always wanted to do something very technical. And I remember spending countless hours observing and sometimes assisting my dad with his work as a quantity surveyor. In fact, his passion for his work and then the prospect of one day joining him and my brother in a family business fueled my early aspiration. And this drive helped me to pursue science during my secondary school days. And when it came to choosing a path for my higher education, I settled on geomatic engineering, noting that it was a perfect fit between my personal interest and the family aspiration. As indicated, my dad was a quantity surveyor, and my brother was then studying to become a civil engineer. And if we all know, when you are doing road construction or any civil work, you need a civil engineer, you need a geomatic engineer, and then you need the quantity surveyor. And so it was all about my family aspiration at that time. Now, when I got to the university, I was exposed to various courses, but then GIS and Earth observation, particularly remote sensing and photogrammetry, captured my interest. And through regular internships, my interest in GIS and Earth observation did not only grow strong, but then I had invaluable hands-on experience. I must emphasize that throughout my journey, I have been fortunate to have very supportive mentors who have encouraged me throughout the journey. And special mention to my mom, who was a teacher back then. She has played an important role in shaping my path to be a lecturer, where I currently lecture in GIS, remote sensing, and photogrammetry at the University of Mines and Technology. So in a nutshell, this is a little bit about me, how the journey started.
And what humble beginnings it's were. It's lovely to see that you've advanced in your career, but you're also spending time giving back and leading the way for those who came before you. We look forward to you as part of this discussion, so we'll see you in a little bit, Doc. And I'm going to introduce our next panelist of an early stage tech startup, currently incubated at Tsimologong Digital Innovation Precinct in Johannesburg, South Africa. She is also the runner-up in the African Women in GIS Technical Challenge that we announced right here at Digital Earth Africa live sessions very early last year. We'll drop a link to that video in case you missed it. Please join me in welcoming onto the virtual stage, Sinethemba Mtshali. Sinethemba, you're already on the stage. Nice to have you with us. Where did your journey start? I know when we spoke, you said, I probably have very humble beginnings that are different from everyone, but it's a journey nonetheless. Where did it start for you?
Yes. Hi, everyone. We're all in different time zones, so good morning, good evening, good afternoon. My name is Sinethemba Mtshali, as Maud has so beautifully introduced me. I'm coming from a very different background because I have a finance background, actually. So I came out of school, had an accounting learnership, and I have a background in management accounting. but I have always had so many interests. I remember when they first asked me in grade 1, what do you want to be? I want to be a scientist. Then, high school happened, so things are a bit different. So then I pursued accounting. But I've always had this interest for GIS and for mapping and, what's going on our Earth and Earth observation. So I went onto LinkedIn and I would just follow all the organizations that were doing things that I found interesting. And that's how I found the African Women in GIS page, and I joined their fellowship, and that was my initial introduction into GIS for the first time ever. And I just ran with the opportunity, and I really tried to absorb as much as I could, learning from the Digital Earth Africa platform, learning, the range and possibilities of GIS, and also applying it in my own way, having to understand how migration, for example, affects the environment using the sandbox. So for me, that was my very first introduction, but now it has led me here where I'm able to use this data and knowledge that I've learned from this GIS industry to really help vulnerable populations, and hence my journey of being a founder at Zimologo.
Very, very inspiring story indeed, Sinethemba. There are many ways to skin a cat, as they say so, and I'm sure there's many ways to enter an industry. May not have been the conventional way that everyone may be used to, but you've entered nonetheless. Welcome, nice to have you with us, Sinethemba, and also looking forward to hearing from you as we unpack this topic today. I want to introduce our third panelist. She's no stranger here at Digital Earth Africa live sessions. We've seen her before. She is a GIS professional with over 10 years experience. She's currently working at one of our partners, Esri. She is a senior solution engineer in Middle East and Africa region. I hope that's still the same. Pauline, you let me know if things have changed, where she supports users of Esri technology in applying GIS solutions to achieve sustainable development across the continent. She is passionate about creating career growth activities for young professionals through assisting academic and research institutions plan out internship activities, participating in mentorship accelerator and user community programs as mentor and advisor, as well as speaking in technical meetups. She has been spotlighted. Lovely to have you with us from Esri, Pauline Okeyo. Pauline, always an honor to have you here at Digital Earth Africa live sessions. We've heard it before, but maybe not everyone has. How did your journey start reaching this point?
Thank you, Maud, and thank you again for giving me this opportunity. I think for my beginning, it started, I think, maybe when I was 10 or 11 years old. My mom came home with a poster that had elephants and GPS and the logo for Esri. I think it was all manifested from back then. And that's when I developed an interest in trying to understand how do all of these things come together. So that led into me developing a love for geography, and my interest in geography led to me pursuing it from primary school, secondary school, and also doing it for my undergraduate. And beyond that, I was fortunate to start working in biodiversity management, that is under GIS, the GIS department, being able to support different activities in the organization when it comes to conserving wildlife in Kenya. And after that, I transitioned into the private sector, which allowed me to work with other organizations to help them better apply GIS or geospatial solutions in their work. So all of that started with a poster, funnily enough. And my mom came with the poster because my mom, she's a cartographer by training, and she ended up being a lecturer in cartography, which is very similar to the to like the example that was given earlier in this session, that there's a lot of influence that comes from some of the professions that we see that gives us the passion that we currently have in terms of seeing how do we apply the knowledge and the skills that we have in our work. So that's basically how I came into this industry, which has been an amazing experience over the last 14 or so years. Yeah.
an amazing experience after the last 14 years or so. Also wasn't conventional. I'm so grateful that your mom nudged you back then, because here you are on Digital Earth Africa live sessions. Nice to have you with us, Pauline. And then our final panelist, I think she might be new to the Digital Earth Africa live sessions, and I'm excited to have her with us. She is a geomorphologist, come heritage and social scientist, whose research interests lie at the surface of heritage conservation, coastal morphodynamics, climate change, and environmental management. Our sisters are very bright. Morphodynamics. Interesting. She recently completed and graduated with a PhD in geography. She is the winner of the African Women in GIS Technical Challenge, the same one that Sinethemba was part of, that we announced here very early last year. Please join me in welcoming onto the virtual stage, Dr. Jokotola Omidiji. I hope I said it correctly, Jokotola. Nice to have you with us. I hope you can be able to turn on your video. Nice to have you with us. An illustrious CV nonetheless. Where did your journey start, Jokotola?
Well, hi everyone. I wish I could say the captivating stories that the former speakers have said about what led me to geography. I landed in geography by chance. It wasn't planned. I wanted to be a doctor, like going the traditional path. But then circumstances led me to studying geography as a first degree. I didn't have a choice, really. That was what my SSC subjects could go for. So that was why I studied geography. But then I did a bachelor degree in geography, graduated best student, did a master's degree in geography in coastal geomorphology, graduated best again, and then said, okay, I think I'm quite good at it, really. So why not just continue on the path? And that led me to start thinking deeply about the niche I wanted to focus on. I didn't want to just do physical geography. I wanted to do study a geography, or do it and make sense with it. Also, bring people along the path, show people the beauty about what geography and GIS is all about. So I went further to complete a PhD, and I am done with that. And also, I got an exceptional thesis award. So I think geography chose me for a reason. I didn't choose geography. I didn't choose GIS. It chose me for a reason. And I've been on that path for more than 10 years now, and I'm still enjoying it. It's still very interesting. It's something I wake up every day and I'm happy to be doing. So that's basically my journey as a scientist and as a geographer.
I'm so excited that geography and GIS chose you. You didn't choose it, because here we are from this sudden choice. Nice to have you with us nonetheless, Jokotola. Very excited to have you as part of today's session. Now that we've introduced all the ladies, let's get started with our discussion, ladies. And I'm going to be zoning in on a few of us, just so that we just get deeper into this discussion about women empowerment, women inclusion, women advancement. And I'm going to start with the two ladies. I introduced them as part of African Women in GIS, but not everyone knows about this technical challenge that we hosted here. It was a partnership between African Women GIS and Digital Earth Africa, focused on women. And Jokotola and Sinethemba, you were the runner. Okay, let me say that correctly. Sinethemba, you were the runner-up, and Jokotola, you were the winner of that challenge. But how has life been for you since you participated in that challenge? Because it's been probably just over a year, if not longer. Maybe Sinethemba, you can go first.
Okay. Life has definitely taken a different turn. What I did really appreciate about having mentorship networks for women is that we can collaborate with one another. I never would have met Jokotola. I never would have met, all the wonderful women at D Africa if it wasn't for that challenge. And I wouldn't have met my mentor, So it was through that challenge that I was able to receive the grant and go physically to Uganda to go see my mentor, and her introduced me, to her network of GIS professionals in Uganda. So, more about expanding the network of people that have been working, have been doing amazing things already, and just highlighting and learning from them. I think that has been the greatest thing. But for me, it shows how one thing can really open you up to a whole new world. And for me, that's really what the African Women in GIS and Technical Challenge did for me.
Oh, beautiful. Love, love, love your story. Jokotola, what about you? How has life been different since being the winner of the African Women in GIS Technical Challenge with the digital?
Life has been good. Life has been very, very interesting. And the one thing that I kind of like has really been part of me since the challenge has been the challenge found a way to reignite my passion in remote sensing and Earth observation. So because having remote sensing data at your fingertips makes a lot of difference. And that is what the platform gives me. From when we ended the mentorship, I have submitted and participated in online conferences, 4 or 5 conferences, presented my work using the platform. I have submitted 1 article to an international journal. I am in Australia now to share some of my work, my ongoing projects, using the platform with some team members from Digital Earth Africa and Digital Earth Australia. So it has opened a huge door of opportunities for me that I cannot begin to count. And then my perspective on issues and on data when it relates to sustainability has really expanded because I have the data to be able to relate impact with. So I do not need to do too much of heavy lifting. So Digital Earth Africa is doing that for me, and I'm really grateful for that. So since the challenge, that has been my journey. I'm still on the learning path, but I have people that are working alongside me to help me achieve my goals.
Also quite a beautiful story, and I'm happy to hear that Digital Earth Africa is carrying all the load. I'm certainly going to send the check to you on behalf of Digital Earth Africa. Thank you so much to you, Jokotola. Now I'm going to move over to the other 2 ladies. Let's give them the floor. To you, Doc, and to you, Pauline. I know earlier you said more than 10 years, more than 14 years, and it's great that you have all of this experience. But just for the reality check, how has the journey really been? What are some of the challenges that you've had to face along the way? Maybe, Doc, you can go first.
Okay. Thank you, Maud. I would say that the journey has been rewarding, but also very challenging. So I narrated till when I did my first degree. Now, after my first degree, I had the opportunity to do my master's in Germany, where I studied photogrammetry and geoinformatics. Then soon after I finished, I came back to Ghana and started teaching. Now, at that time in Ghana, it was okay to have a master's and then teach. But then just as I started, there was a communique that the minimum qualification should be a PhD. And so there was pressure on everyone to have a PhD. And often you would get funding from the university if you have stayed 2 years and above. However, the university there was no rule that when you are below 2 years, you would get funding. So the issue is that I was looking for a PhD, but I wasn't going to get funding from my university. And my only way out was to look for funding elsewhere. Luckily enough, I had that funding and I started my PhD. Now, the university would have funded me if I did it internally, but knowing I'm someone, if I know what I want, I'm very difficult to convince. And so I stood by it that I wanted to focus in a particular area. And I went to the University of Cape Town, but I had funding. And my next major challenge has been striking a balance between family life and career. And this is a revolving challenge that I face on a daily basis. I will say that, yes, I've maneuvered my way around it, but I will say that it's something I'm still growing with it, because when I started my PhD, I have two girls. One was about 8 months and the other was about, I think about 8 months and then about 16 months. And I was breastfeeding both of them. And I had a supporting family that wanted me to just go and study and leave the children. But, I had grown up with my parents being there for me. And I've also imagined a life where you pay attention to your children by yourself. And so I was challenged, wanting to think about my career and then just leaving them and going. But eventually I decided I was going to go with them. The good thing was that at the University of Cape Town, there was an educare that if you were a student, you could send your child there. And so I would send my kids over there, and during the day, I would go in and breastfeed. I had to sacrifice a few. I did nothing like social life because I had to be there for the children. And throughout, I'm not a super mom, but I try to do what I can. And I've tried to be the mother who will assist kids with homework. I do the teaching myself so that they would not feel that I have abandoned them, but I still am in their life. And so that has been my major challenge, balancing between work and family. Thank you.
It's never easy, but we always get it done. I don't know if it's the strength of a woman, but somehow we always just find a way to get it done. And we're happy, Doc, that you were able to navigate and balance things out, and look at you now. Pauline, what about you? Some of the challenges you faced getting to this point?
I think the challenges are very similar. I think overall in the region as well as globally. I would like to speak on two of them. The first one is opportunities. So I think originally there were very limited opportunities when it came to roles in science within Africa, because I think as our industry was taking off, there's still a lot of groundwork being done in terms of how do we get useful data or useful information in a format that will be usable. So that meant that the kind of opportunities that were available, because of the nature of us getting into using technology, it meant that the opportunities that were available were more on digitizing for the old school people who are here on this call. So it meant just converting data format. But I think over time, one of the amazing things that has happened is that we have more and more opportunities when it comes to being able to play a role in this industry, whereby we have people who are mainly focused in the geospatial industry, and now we have extensions into other aspects such as data science. We have people who are playing different roles, even in different industries completely, but they're leveraging the knowledge that they have when it comes to applying Earth observation and GIS in their work. So I think that has been one of the most amazing things happening with opportunities. The second one is community. And I like the example given that, at times you want to balance being able to develop different aspects of your life, and being part of a community really helps with that. So I think originally one of the challenges that was there was that a lot of people who are coming up in this industry, we didn't have a community where we could be able to share our experiences and get motivated by other role models in the industry. So the role models could be women who are thriving and excelling in this industry. Thankfully, right now we have a lot of them, as well as men who will step in and also be able to help us to grow in our careers and so on. So I think initially there was a bit of a gap there, and it's been great to see how in many ways organizations have come in to set up programs to help young professionals, especially women, to grow in this industry. So there's a lot of inclusion in terms of opportunities for women to grow in the industry. And I think another thing that has really helped in terms of having a sense of community is like the African women in GIS community, and other women in GIS communities, youth MAPA communities, and so on. So I think those have been really, really important in terms of inspiring young women, motivating them, giving them the support they need, giving them the leg up that they need. Kind of like the example that's been given on how Digital Art Africa has provided some groundwork and some support to help a young woman go to Australia to present on her work. So I would say those are initial challenges, but it's great to see how we have so many developments over the recent years helping us to grow and overcome those challenges that are there before. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And it's always great to see organizations coming through and supporting women, but also leaders like yourself, Pauline, and the ones who are here with us today, advancing and making sure that we empower the women who are in our spaces and our places. Thank you so much for sharing. I think we spent a bit of time sharing about our challenges, but it's also nice to know a bit about the successes. So I'm going to ask each of us to maybe share one thing that's been our biggest success in our journey thus far. You have many, and I know. So maybe I'll start with you, Jokotola, and I'll move in the other direction. Just at least one success you've had on your journey.
One success, completing the PhD and giving birth to a baby at the same time.
Ooh, that's a lot. You're going to tell us a bit more about it soon, don't you worry. Sinethemba, one of your career successes to date?
Oh, this one is a little bit hard because, you know, I think we always do focus on the end goal, but the journey has been really amazing. I would say just the journey to being an entrepreneur, and like we're saying, the help that Digital Earth Africa is giving us, you know, they support us in everything that we do. So even having the ability to know and start the groundwork to have a climate tech startup, to me has been something that is definitely an achievement.
Lovely. To you, Doc?
I would say it's a tough question, but I think for me, completing my PhD without abandoning my children means a lot to me. So I'll classify that as success.
Great. And Pauline, what about you?
I would say I've been actively involved in mentoring for about, I think, almost 8 years now. And I think that's one of my main achievements as a professional in this industry, being able to do this through an internship program I was supporting previously, and now through a number of mentorship programs that are regional, like across Africa as well as beyond. So I think that's been one of my greatest achievements in terms of being able to work with young professionals to navigate their journey as they start their journey in science. Yeah.
Thank you so much, ladies, for sharing your story. Jokotola, I said I'm going to call you because your story was very exciting. You recently completed a PhD and you graduated, and now you said whilst having a baby. Now, whilst having a baby is very interesting. How did you do it all? But I think I'm more interested in knowing, like, what have been some of the opportunities that have presented itself to you since you completed your PhD?
Like I mentioned earlier, and as Pauline and doctors made mention, having a scientific career is not a bed of roses if you're both a woman and a mother. So completing the PhD with while nursing a child was rewarding but stressful. So the PhD as a whole, because I had to move to another country, isn't related to my own country, Nigeria. So it's more about coastal processes in New Zealand. So it has been, with the completion of the PhD, I've had a chance to think deeply about how I can transfer the skills and knowledge learned from my results from my study in New Zealand and being able to transfer it to coastal studies in Nigeria. And part of the work that I'm working on using the Digital Earth platform is being able to marry the two countries and coastal processes together. So I have started to work on several projects, sustainability projects and environmental management projects, and also diving into heritage conservation work using the Digital Earth Africa platform and field data to validate some of the remote sensing work that I'm doing. I've now, after the PhD, my opportunities, I can say I've been endless, because it's a difference when you have an opportunity in front of you and you're not able to grab it, but then when you see it, you know it's an opportunity that you can diversify in so many ways. So I've been able to think deeply, look at things within, like in perspective, and then also contribute in a particular way to coastal science, both in Nigeria and New Zealand. So that's where I'm at now after the PhD, and working through some of my projects.
Great, thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm sure we've all had helpers and people helping us along the way in the form of mentors. So I'm maybe going to ask Sinethemba and Jokotola this question, and then I'll adapt it somewhat for Pauline and for Doc. So Sinethemba and Jokotola, maybe each of you could tell me the importance of mentorship in your journey. Did you have mentors? What kind of the support did they give you, and how critical was that support in your journey leading to this point?
For me, I've had both experiences of great mentorship experiences and not so great mentorship experiences. And I think for both, it's when you have a really great mentor, it accelerates your personal and your professional growth, you know, especially when you're being mentored by other women, because like we're saying, the women all in this room are 10 years ahead of me, 15 years ahead of me, and they have had the experiences, you know, of having a professional life and a family. And those are wisdoms I can draw from even now in my journey in the beginning. Whereas at times, when a mentor wants to impose their life views on you and say, this is how it should go, this is the path that you should take, that's when the mentorship experience becomes diluted. So I do believe that when done right, it is such a fruitful experience, and it's actually very necessary, because we do exist in community, and like we say in South Africa, umuntu muntu ngabantu, right? So you are a person because of other people, and that's so important to even have in our professional careers. So mentorship is very important, so that you know that you're not alone. You know, there are people who have the same kind of struggles as you, and we all overcome struggles in different ways, and we can all learn, you know, from one another. So I really do value mentorship in a very big way.
Thank you for sharing. What about you, Jokotola?
Actually, when I think about it, I didn't have any mentor. I didn't have a female role model, someone that I would look up and think, oh, I wanted to be like her. In fact, if I were to name a role model, I would name a Nigerian economist, Dr. Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, who is the first woman and the first African to lead the World Trade Organization as the Director General. So basically, I know mentorship goes a long way in cultivating a person. You get to learn from the mentor, and it's an exchange of ideas. The first mentor I had was while I was doing the African Women in GIS program. My first experience has been a very good one, a blessed one, because we still maintain that contact. But then I think what I learned from her and what she taught me was, you can make mistakes, but your ability to work on those mistakes and be a better person is what makes you different from others. So now I value mentorship. Now I want to mentor people, and I still want to have mentors, female mentors that I look up to in the field of coastal science, particularly in Africa, where being a coastal scientist isn't a normal thing for both men and women in every case. But here in New Zealand, it's more common. But then I would really love to work with someone from Africa that we can both talk the same language in terms of the problems affecting our region and be able to prefer sustainable solutions. So I am a person that would 100% support you, any female scientist, having a mentor to guide you through your path in science. But then if you don't have it, wing it, do it, you're good. But it's okay to have a mentor, sorry.
I appreciate your varying insights. I think it's also always nice to have a contrast. And I'm going to bring now the two other ladies because they have both been mentors and they currently are mentors for you, Doc and Pauline. You've heard the perspective from the two ladies. And now from the two of you, I want to maybe ask, why do you still stick around as a mentor? Sometimes they say it can be quite draining, especially the relationship, because the mentor or the mentee wants to take and never really give, or we don't really understand the relationship and how it should work. Why do you stay as a mentor, and what fulfillment have you gotten from the journey? And this is also to just maybe inspire someone who's watching this and saying, I don't really see any benefits in mentorship. Maybe I'll ask you, Pauline, to go first.
Sure. I like the comment that was made earlier that I think the Ubuntu statement about you are because of other people. And I think that's my main motivation when it comes to mentorship, whereby it's not, it's usually like, oh, you're giving and you're giving back and everything. But I think it's such a great opportunity to get inspiration. So for most of the mentorship activities that I support, I come across young professionals who are always trying to find out the best way to start their career and so on. And I usually get a lot of inspiration from them because, they're still fresh, they're still hungry, they're still excited and everything, which is not something that is easily sustainable for most of us who've been in the industry for so long. So it's such a great opportunity to exchange not only knowledge, but also that energy from someone who's coming from the position of a mentor to the mentees and so on. So it's such a wonderful way to to develop that or to reignite the passion that you originally had when you're starting in your career and thinking like, oh, I want to make all these kinds of change or this kind of influence and so on. So that usually is my main motivation when it comes to being part of mentorship programs and so on. And again, going back to that statement of being myself being relatable to other women, to other African women, to other African women in tech. I think being accessible is very important because you'll find maybe given the early on experience for other women, it doesn't look like it's achievable or it's possible to be able to contribute meaningfully either in academia or in industry or whichever way when it comes to being an active person in science, basically, or in tech. So for that reason, I try as much as possible to do this through mentorship. It could be through formal mentorship, informally, and so on. I think it's very important because some of us have been helped by so many other people ahead of us. And even if it's not direct, whereby I was directly interacting with someone, some women have really stepped up and open doors for many of us that it only makes sense for us to also try and help our sisters who are starting this journey. So I'd say those are my two main motivators in terms of getting to have that interaction with young professionals and getting my passion in my work being reignited, as well as the aspect of being relatable to and accessible to also young professionals who are starting off in their career. Yeah.
Interesting perspectives. Thank you, Pauline. Appreciate it. Doc, what about you? Why do you stay mentoring others? What fulfillment? What's in it for you?
Thank you. Sometimes what keeps you in is what you expected when you were young. When I was young, aside my mother, who I'll say was my female mentor, any other person who mentored me was a man. And the relationship, it wasn't like a formal mentorship, but sometimes it was I myself choosing the person, I myself approaching the person that I need help here. I want you to direct me in this path. And sometimes we had to learn from the examples of others. And so growing up, I was always thinking, if I knew A and B, I would have done this. And so wanting to be in a particular state has been very encouraging for me. Now with my students, each time, every year you have a graduating class. And it's very encouraging to see that your product, so every time you have your product going out there, doing wonderful things, reaching out to you because of the relationships that you had. And you get very inspiring words from them that it was through you that I did this. It was through you. And so you always feel like doing more because you actually see that every year you have a graduating class and you find it as a duty to be able to help them. In fact, I always think that if you are lecturing and you cannot see your products going out there and making it, getting either being entrepreneurs, if they are not getting direct jobs, then you have not really done so well. And so giving back has always been something that has inspired me. Particularly, I've worked with the youth mappers, and this is something very encouraging where we get into real projects, humanitarian projects with students, and you see the enthusiasm with which the students come in. Sometimes you see that your enthusiasm is low, but the young ones, they have so much enthusiasm. And so as you mentor them, you get encouraged. So they fuel you back that energy that keeps you going. And one other thing for me at this stage is looking at bridging the gap between academia and industry. Sometimes we get feedback from our students. They tell us, for instance, you have a student telling you, when I started work, I had to learn A, B, and C because I didn't know it initially. And so those feedbacks, you sometimes get the opportunity to include them in your lesson notes, or you find ways to improve upon. And so these students actually serve as people who can also guide you in your career when you stay in touch with them. And being a mother, I have a soft spot for them. I understand what a youth, a student will do, their expectations, especially when you have the troublemakers in class. I know how to, initially when you start teaching, you are so worried about the troublemakers. But after 14 years of teaching, I have a grip on what I should do. Make best friends with the troublemakers and you are good to go. You get to a class, you want an additional period to be arranged. You call the most troublesome person. And once he agrees, the rest, you don't have an issue. So it's been a nice journey trying to mentor them, and we learn a lot from them too.
So if you have a mentor, I think what they're trying to say is don't take it for granted, because you might not think so, but they are certainly learning from you. I love how Pauline spoke about an exchange of energy. So you must bring your energy into the mentorship, because your mentor also feeds off your energy as you exchange knowledge and exchange ideas. Ladies, thank you so much for your collective feedback on this topic of mentorship. I think everyone is keen, and I'm certainly keen to know a little bit about what's next for you. So we'll ask each of us one at a time, what's next on your journey? Sinethemba, maybe I'll ask you to go first. What's next for you?
Okay, so for me, there's a lot of things now to think about, but the opportunity to continue doing research with other professors and researchers in academia has been coming up. I've been getting a lot of requests and opportunities to co-author and publish papers. So that's, another avenue to go into. But also definitely just coming up with solutions, creating agile solutions, within the entrepreneurship network for climate resiliency and climate adaptation in this time, because we know right now, we're working towards our SDGs, we're working towards our sustainability goals as a continent. But I think as we are going into the next chapter, the next 10 years of our continent, a big part of it is going to be technology, a big part of it is going to be climate change. But we, for once, have to be on the forefront. We have to be the ones that define these things for ourselves. We are the ones who are going to be, implementing our own solutions. So I'm just looking forward to firstly pioneering those things, being a part of communities where we are working, towards sustainability, working towards having sustainable solutions that are implemented by our youth. Yeah, that's all on my front for now.
And please don't forget us when you're pioneering those big things there. We'd love to certainly hear from you. Thank you so much, Sinethemba. Pauline, what's next for you on your journey?
I think for me, given the time that I've been able to support different mentorship activities, I think moving forward, definitely there'll be a lot more of that, as well as helping different programs coming up in terms of mentorship to come up with structures, because I think I've been very lucky that I've supported very, very good programs previously that are well structured, and you'll find that there are agencies setting up their own mentorship programs that are not well defined. So I look forward to opportunities around that that are coming up this year, as well as I think meeting different chapters of women in science communities across Africa. I think I've spoken to a few of them, and I look forward to meeting them in person in this year. Yeah, so those are two things I'm mainly excited about this year. Yeah.
And also you too, don't forget us, as you are so excited about doing all of these things. We'd certainly love to hear from you and see how your journey unfolds as a woman in science. Thank you so much to you, Pauline. Jokotola, what is next for you on your journey?
I'm presently on a journey now. I have just started a job in the policy space, so I really want to, I'm into applying some of my science work into resource management. So, but aside from that, in a year, I really want to look for postdoctoral opportunities in heritage conservation and environmental sustainability. That's one thing. And then I'm open to being a mentor to other upcoming scientists. Those are the three things I would like to do in the next 2 years, hopefully.
So if you're looking for a mentor in science and Jokotola speaks to you, please do reach out to us. We'll connect you. And I'm so excited to hear that she's looking forward to mentoring. Thank you so much, Jokotola, in advance for the offer. And last to you, Dr. Tagoe, what is next for you on your journey?
Thank you. So aside my work as a lecturer, I also act as the Environmental Sustainability Advisor to the Ministry of Environment and to the EP, Environment Protection Agency in Ghana. I'm excited about some upcoming projects that would leverage geospatial technology for sustainable development. And I think that is my niche. That's where I can contribute so much. So I'm looking forward to that project. And on a personal level, I am working on my promotion from senior lectureship to being a professor at the end of the year. I look forward to that. And finally, I look forward to more mentorship. I look forward every year to new students and new opportunities.
What a beautiful journey ahead of you. And to all of those looking for mentors, I'm not saying Doc is wanting more, but she certainly spoke about it. So if you're keen, we'll connect you. Thank you so much to you, Doc, in advance, and wish you well for your journey. Please do keep us informed as everything unfolds. We'd certainly love to cover it and tell our users about it right here on Digital Earth Africa. Ladies, earlier before the cameras started rolling, I spoke about behind every woman is a man, very possibly, or someone who's making things happen and keep making sure the engine keeps moving. I'm going to introduce such a gentleman. He's no stranger here at Digital Earth Africa, but he's part of our executive leadership team. His name is Jiko Mudimo. He is the head of operations. He wasn't with us earlier, but he is here with us now. Jiko, on behalf of Digital Earth Africa, would you like to say a few words to the ladies? Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Maud. Just want to say thank you very much to each of you for participating today. We really do celebrate you for International Women's Day. I think, as Maud said right at the beginning of the call, and also Joseph shared, is that we want to reach out and enable as many women as possible through the technology that we've developed at Digital Earth Africa. And your stories are actually amazing because they show the ability of actually use the technology to move your careers forward, both in the academic realm, in business. And I really want to say thank you to all of you for participating. We've got a really diverse audience as well. And you represent the small business, large business through Esri, the academic sector as well. So it's really a testament to the hard work that you put in. And we look forward to engaging with you in your journey. And I also want to encourage those who are on the call who like to share their stories as well, because I think there are many, many more. We'd love to hear your stories. We'll share a link soon after this where you can actually tell us a little bit more about your academic journey or your career journey in the GIS field. And we'd love to profile you on the Digital Earth Africa website. So thank you so much, Maud, for organizing this, and for Joe as well for hosting this. And back to you.
Thank you so much. Our support structures, the gentlemen keeping us whilst we do our thing as ladies and we shine. Thank you so much to you, Jiko, sharing a little bit more about Digital Earth Africa, our advancement of women, and how you can participate as a female in science. We would certainly love to hear from you. As we now round up the discussion, I want to ask all of our ladies one last question before we say our goodbyes. Someone's watching this and asking, what advice do you have for me as a woman in science? So I will round it up a bit, and maybe Jokotola, you can go first. An advice for women in science?
Well, believe in your potential, embrace failure as part of growth, and remember to acknowledge and appreciate every step you take towards achieving your goal. Never underestimate yourself.
Beautiful, short, sweet, to the point. Doctor?
4 things. Believe in yourself and your abilities, even when you are facing challenges. Seek mentors and allies who will help you and guide you on your journey. Don't be afraid to take risks and opportunities that will come your way. And remember that your voice matters. Thank you.
Thank you so much to you. Such pertinent advice. Sinethemba. Sinethemba, advice for women in science?
For me, I would say trust your own internal navigation, your intuition. You know what you want sometimes before other people tell you. And I feel like we need to trust that as women, because a lot of the time we get told, what we should and shouldn't be and what we should be boxed into. But when we explore our curiosities and we explore and trust our own internal navigation, we get to where we want to be. So I would say that, and also be open to learning. Always be a sponge, ready to observe, ready to learn, because you will learn so much from other people and it will accelerate your own journey.
Thank you so much to you. And last but certainly not least, Pauline.
I'd say that there are so many people out here who want to help you, and they're available. And I think the only thing that's needed from you is just to ask them for help. So always take that initiative or opportunity to ask for help, because there are so many people who have the knowledge and the skills that you need, and they're willing to help you. Yeah.
Ladies, thank you so much for being part of our conversation. There were so many nuggets that came from it, and I've been writing down notes as we've gone along. But what's been clear, ladies and gentlemen, is that whether you've entered into this industry the conventional way or the non-conventional way, it certainly has not been easy. It's not going to be easy, but it does involve quite a lot of sacrifice on your part. Mentorship is quite an important part of your journey in accelerating your growth. And I love the point about the exchange of ideas, energy, and knowledge as we continue on the mentorship journey. The ladies told us today it's important that we believe in ourselves, believe in your potential, don't be afraid to take risks and to ask for help, trust your intuition, and be open to learning. I mentioned earlier that this year it's all about inclusion, empowerment, and the advancement of women. I trust you've learned a little bit about at least the woman that we've profiled today, and it has inspired you to be part of the solution in inclusion, empowering, and the advancement of women in the spaces and the places that you find yourselves in. A virtual round of applause, please, for our panelists today, Dr. Dedei Tagoe from Ghana, Sinethemba Mtshali from South Africa, Pauline Okeyo from Kenya originally, and Dr. Jokotola Omidiji, originally from Nigeria, but now in New Zealand. Thank you, ladies, and we're so appreciative of your time and your attention and your expertise today. We never want to leave our live sessions without giving you an opportunity to connect with us. And so on the screen, you're going to see the ways that you can do so. Our website is www.digitalearthafrica.org. If you're interested in our online free self-paced learning programs, you can visit the dedicated website, which is learn.digitalearthafrica.org. We have an email address, info@digitalearthafrica.org. We will also drop a link to a specific email or a link for you to submit a story if you're using the Digital Earth Africa platform, especially as a female. We would certainly love to hear from you. And we are accessible on 3 social media sites or platforms by the same name, which is Digital Earth Africa, on Twitter, LinkedIn, as well as YouTube. Ladies, leaders, for your time and your attention. We host these live sessions every Wednesday of the month right here at Digital Earth Africa. It's at 11 a.m. GMT. We alternate between English and French. Today was in English in celebration of Women's Day, which is coming up. Our next session we'll communicate about it. I'm not sure if it's going to be in French, but we will certainly have a session in French in the very near future. I want to thank you so much for your time and your attention today. It was an absolute pleasure to host you. This day, even though we're celebrating International Women's Day today, it's probably a day that needs to be celebrated every day of the year. And so in closing, I want to read a quote that I've seen on the internet. I'm not sure who it's from, but it goes as follows. Here's to strong women. May we know them. May we be them. May we raise them. Until we meet again, please take care and be safe. And depending on where you're joining us from across the continent and the world, have yourself a very good morning, good afternoon, a good evening, and good night. Thank you so much. Take care. We'll meet again soon.